bhikkhus, there are these two kinds of search, the noble search and the ignoble search. And what is the ignoble search? Here, someone, being himself subject to birth, seeks what is also subject to birth. Being himself subject to aging, he seeks what is also subject to aging. Being himself subject to sickness, he seeks what is also subject to sickness. Being himself subject to death, he seeks what is also subject to death. Being himself subject to sorrow, he seeks what is also subject to sorrow. Being himself subject to defilement, he seeks what is also subject to defilement. This was the definition for ignoble search. Ignoble means that which is not noble. Yeah, that search that the wise one will not undertake. It is not wise. Search means what? Simply that which you want. Look at yourself carefully. What is it that you are seeking for right now in your life? What you are seeking for, is that subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement? If it is subject to that, then it is an ignoble search. For example, you yourself are subject to birth, old age, sickness, death, defilement. Correct? And if you are seeking money, remember, money comes, money goes. It is also temporary. So it is also subject to death. Nothing is permanent. Not your house, not your car, not your spouse, not your children, not your parents, not your name, not your fame. Nothing in this world is permanent. The thirst for permanency itself is what is called seeking. And if you are really seeking for these things that are subject to death, then it is an ignoble search. Homework number 1. Is your search ignoble? Check. And what may be said to be subject to birth? Wife and children are subject to birth. Men and women slaves. Goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares, gold and silver are subject to birth. You can put all your possessions in this. Your $1 million house, your $100,000 car, your expensive branded clothes, your shoes, your makeup, your books, your watches, etc., 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 your job, all are subject to birth. These acquisitions are subject to birth, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to birth, seeks what is also subject to birth. Are you seeking that which is subject to birth? Being yourself subject to birth? Then it is what kind of search? ignoble. And what may be said to be subject to aging? Wife and children are subject to aging. Men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares, gold and silver are subject to aging. These acquisitions are subject to aging, and one who is tied to these acquisitions, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to aging, seeks what is also subject to aging. And what may be said to be subject to sickness? Wife and children are subject to sickness. Men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares are subject to sickness. These acquisitions are subject to sickness, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to sickness, seeks what is also subject to sickness. And what may be said to be subject to death? Wife and children are subject to death. Men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares are subject to death. These acquisitions are subject to death, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to death, seeks what is also subject to death. And what may be said to be subject to sorrow? Wife and children are subject to sorrow. Men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares are subject to sorrow. These acquisitions are subject to sorrow, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to sorrow, seeks what is also subject to sorrow. And what may be said to be subject to defilement? Wife and children are subject to defilement. Men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares, gold and silver are subject to defilements. These acquisitions are subject to defilement, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to defilement, seeks what is also subject to defilement. This is the ignoble search. Take a moment again and see what are you seeking, what are you craving for, what are you running after. Aren't you subject to birth, to aging, to sickness, to death, to defilement, and to sorrow? And that which you are searching for, that is also subject to all of this. It is also going to die. You are really seeking for temporary, yourself being temporary. It is an ignoble search. And what is the noble search? Here, someone being himself subject to birth, having understood the danger in what is subject to birth, seeks the unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being himself subject to aging, having understood the danger in what is subject to aging, he seeks the unaging supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being himself subject to sickness, having understood the danger in what is subject to sickness, he seeks the unailing supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being himself subject to death, having understood the danger in what is subject to death, he seeks the deathless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being himself subject to sorrow, having understood the danger in what is subject to sorrow, he seeks the sorrowless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being himself subject to defilement, having understood the danger in what is subject to defilement, he seeks the undefiled supreme security from bondage, nibbana. This is the noble search. What is the point of searching that which is just like you? That which is born, that which will become old, that will become sick, that which will die, that which has lots of defilements, lots of faults, lots of cravings, aversions are all defilements. What's the point of searching for that which will only increase your sorrow? Look for that. If you have to search for that which will take you beyond all this sorrow. That which is beyond birth, beyond aging, beyond sickness, beyond death, beyond defilements. Therefore, it is beyond sorrow. Seek that state of being withdrawn from all this samsara, this temporary samsara, that state of peace itself is called nibbana. You really cannot crave for nibbana because craving itself is sorrow. Craving itself is a defilement. Then you are still stuck in this world, in the samsara. It is still an ignoble search. When you withdraw from craving itself, it doesn't matter what the object of your craving is, whether it is a person, a situation, a thing, or nibbana. It is all the same category. When you just withdraw from craving itself, that state of relaxation, that itself is nibbana. That is a noble search.